If you have ever ran an offset smoker, you would know that having even temperatures, a smokestack of blue smoke, and having control of your fire isn't always an easy task. So how does one turn out juicy meat with all these things to worry about? Well, it starts with familiarizing yourself with your smoker, and today we are doing just that with our new G2 offset smoker by Old Country Barbecue Pits, right here on Al Lunacy Queuing. Welcome back, my good people. It was a cold, windy day in South Texas. I had to change out my flag before the cook, and what better flag than the first flag of Texas to signify my first long cook on the new smoker. The Old Country Generation 2 offset has performed fairly well on some short cooks I've done so far, like chicken and fajitas, but today's cook will be a brisket. So with a longer cook like this, it should give me more of an understanding of how well this smoker performs and how I should run it. I'll start with a bag of mesquite lump charcoal as my base for my firewood, but more on this later when I add my wood splits. I'll be using a flame torch to light the fire. Many of the items I am using in this video are available on my Amazon storefront, link in the video description. Now as we get ready to trim the brisket, we'll be using two types of knives that we'll sharpen. I'll explain in a bit why I like using these type of knives during the trimming. This is a 9 1/4 pound select grade brisket that I got for $2.50 a pound. I was hoping to find a prime brisket for a good price, but it just didn't happen. Given the price that I paid for this though, I'm not mad about it. Plus I won't feel as bad if I mess this up. Speeding through this, we'll remove the decal with the bony knife, which is a piece of hard fat on one side of the brisket. I also like using the bony knife to get under that silver skin since the blade has a flex to it. Now we'll use the slicing knife to shape the edges of the brisket. This makes it easier to make long straight line cuts, and you'll see me here making my way around the brisket using this knife. And once we are done cutting the thin edges of the brisket, we'll switch back to the bony knife, cutting a little more of that silver skin and perfecting those edges. Then we'll trim the fat cap side to about 1/4 inch of fat, which will be our presentation side. About 2 pounds of trimming, the fat will be saved for tallow and the meat trimmings will be saved to make ground beef. We put the meat trimmings in the freezer, and now we'll cut these fat trimmings into smaller pieces so they will render quicker. They will go in the cast iron pan and into the smoker. Today we'll go with our very own squash bark as our rub and some W sauce as our binder. Squash bark is a salt, pepper, and garlic based rub with some additional spices for some added flavor. It's great as a bark builder, and you'll find the link for this in our video description. Our brisket is all seasoned up, time to add our wood splits. I like using GWP wood splits because they come already cut in the perfect size for a backyard smoker. Mixing a strong wood like mesquite lump as your coal bed and a milder wood like post oak really give you a great balance and smoke profile flavor in your protein. Try experimenting with this to find your favorite smoke flavor profile. Another example of this would be using hickory wood with apple wood. Everything was set to go, but in the first hour I noticed that the cast iron pan was extending some of the heat onto the point of the brisket. I went ahead and spritzed to try to keep it even, but in the second hour I just figured that it was better to rotate the brisket a little to even out the bark. I should also mention that I was trying to expedite the cooking process by keeping the temps at an even 300 since I got off to a late start. By the 2.5 hour mark, I had rendered enough fat for the wrapping part of my brisket. The rest of these fat trimmings will go to the alley cats. About 3 hours in, bark's starting to look nice. Might want to turn it over this way and drain out that little puddle all over. We're entering the 4th hour. For 4 hours, man, this is a beautiful bark already. Doing beautifully, man. The pit's working excellent. I'm gonna go ahead and put another split in there. It's going about a split every 30 minutes. So I was able to maintain 300 degrees on both ends with the smokestack damper about 1/4 of a way shut and our fire door box slightly open. And that was one split every 30 minutes on this cold, windy day. To keep us a little warmer, I decided to add some jalapeno bombers to the smoker. We seasoned it with our very own vaca rub, which is a sweet Tex-Mex rub. Link for it in the video description. By the 5.5-hour mark, we were very close to hitting the stall. I kept a close watch of this by using the R-meter meat probe and the app. At the 6-hour mark, we were at 175 degrees. As you can see, our brisket was still very moist. Time for our wrap. And so I had to fight the wind while I was wrapping this. We are adding our rendered tallow to the brisket. Now remember, this is a low-grade select brisket, so we need all the help we can get to keep it moist. Most of the times I make brisket, I won't wrap it until it's time to rest the brisket in a warmer, but that's usually because I buy prime grade briskets. I was also in a time crunch, so that was another reason to wrap since I wanted to finish this brisket before nightfall. I was averaging a little under an hour per pound of cook time for the brisket. I'm just hoping that the center fat between the point and the flat renders well. About an hour left for the cook to be done. In the meantime, these appetizers for the game were delicious and yummy. We'll see you guys inside. So just that one little hot spot, I think I would have liked it to be better. But not bad. Pulling a flat slice, the slice pulled tender. The point also felt tender as I was slicing it. I should have rested a little longer, but it still turned out great. I had to feed my family. I was happy with the bark. It was nice and dark and crusty, and the whole brisket had a nice smoke ring all around. For being an expedited cook, I was still able to get that center fat almost completely rendered. Not bad for a select grade brisket. And you can see here on a point slice that the center fat is well rendered. And here's a pull of a point slice that also proved to be tender. All in all, I was very happy with my first long cook on the G2 smoker. You don't see much YouTubers nowadays wanting to put in the work to run an offset, but I still very much enjoy this way of cooking. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Till next time, take care of yourself and each other. We'll see you on the next one.